Hello, good morning all. The world second day of the 13th National Conference of Sustainable Waste Management and Circular Economy and the IPLA Global Forum 2023. As we begin the first session of day 2, today we have the chair with us, Professor Dr. Aditi Vivek. He's the current director of Center of Sustainability at the Atlas Multi University. Co-chair, we have Dr. Shilpi Kapoor, Vice President Environmental Management and Hall Manager, Dr. Gupta. May I request the first speaker to please come up. Before we begin with the presentations, I would just like to reiterate the rules for the presenters. The program schedule has been sent already in the mail. The program schedule is supposed to be followed strictly. Report 15 minutes before the session. Submit your PPT to the hall manager with the pen drive to upload to the laptop or the PPTs can also be sent to our mail ID. All in-person presentations will be first followed by online. Hall manager or chair call the presenter to also remind the next presenter to be avoided. Please adhere to the time limits of 10 minutes or for technical sessions. Hall manager will give the reminder 2 minutes before the time at the end. Q&A session will be at the end of the session conducted by the chair and coordinator. Please wait till the end for a group photo. And kindly note that each presentation will be rated by the Board of Jury for the selection of IconSWM-CE Excellence Awards for Best Data Presentation 2020. The next. So, the presentations will be evaluated on the basis of 5 parameters: technical content, slide quality, presentation skills, practical application, Q&A response. Does somebody have their phone joined in the Zoom? Anyone in the audience? If you have, kindly unmute yourself because you have an echo.
So very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, my chair and co-chair. Thank you for giving me the support to the work. I'm Neha, representing my institute of management, Mumbai, formerly Ngt. Talking something on circular connections in the MSW sector. I understand it's overloaded sector. Enough work has been done, but we are trying to look at from a very different perspective, as in what is the current state, like business as usual scenario, and how circularity interventions can literally lead to some kind of climate change mitigation, etc., etc. More from the academia side, the KJSIM point was Carlo Marx unit, which we mapped, which we modeled, and tried to ascertain where the implications of waste management are also there. Now, when we talk about waste management, we say it on a very good note. Yes, the waste needs to be managed in a very technical, scientific manner. But then, coming from business point of view, how only the technology doesn't suffice, we have to look into some kind of supply chain issues also, which are coming up of late, and that needs to be addressed so that at a systemic or at a holistic level, the entire problem can be sorted. While the technologies are there on ground, we still see huge quantums of dumping sites here and there. We are not able to manage them. So this is not a technological issue at all. India, and as a matter of fact, many other countries are very well versed. It's a supply chain issue. Let's have a look. Since it's more on circularity, while I talk about technical, I talk see something on the management related also. So if I want to kind of answer waste value chain and about a decarbonized pathway for a country like India and many economies, the take waste paradigm is going off for sure. It's a closed loop kind of economy which is working out nowadays. That is from the production side to the consumption side. Now that things do not have to end up in a landfill. We have to come up with some kind of circularity interventions and devise a reverse supply chain. Reverse logistics for this kind of system where there's a market out ready for this kind of waste and a demand gets created for waste kind of business. So this is where the economic value comes up. And if this we are able to kind of make it feasible, then this model will work. Then that circular economy model will work. Because at the end of the day, the stakeholders will have some economic recovery from a business like waste management, and of course there will be environmental performance coming, like climate change mitigation, global warming mitigation and all. So now what is happening, end of the life product, whatever MSW waste is the case in point as of now. So this is becoming an environmental liability now, right now, we all know that, but it's also an economic liability. Now having said that, if conducive business models can be framed, it can become a business opportunity, and then we can see that this kind of scenario culminating in a very big time. So having said that, this is all about sustainable production and consumption and SDG 12, which is aligned with the industry only. This is where industry has to come up and devise some kind of technologies and business models so that it can work out. This calls for redesigning of the supply loops where circular economy comes into picture. Circularity comes here. Now, when I talk about reuse, it's very easy to say reuse. When I talk about recovery, it's very easy to say recovery. Is my product designed for reusability? Is my product designed for disassembly? Can I disassemble a product, etc.? Now, these are the things we have to configure. Then only something called a circularity will intervene into the system, and this has to be taken up from the forefront stage only, that is at the design level. So with this now, end of the life management is coming up in a big way, and MSW sector is a very case in point which can take up this because we have millions of tons of waste getting generated every day. Yeah, so this is what we try to map now. Since it was a gate-to-gate concept, that is when the waste arrives at an MSW facility, what are the impacts on the environment, and finally, will it be economically feasible to take that kind of project from a business point of view? So having said that, now many institutions are coming up to finance these kind of projects because it's not about technology funding, it's from other things. So financial institutions like ABB and carbon markets are coming up and using this kind of framework where circularity intervenes and from disposal now creates a reverse effect. Now before we can actually look into, we touch this model, whether how to measure the environmental performance, how to measure the economic performance. Today, since it's about circularity, I'll be talking something only on environmental performance using a model called MCA. So this is what we try to understand whether the physical performance of the primary supply chain with respect to the supply loop is economically feasible, whether the environmental performance is there or not with respect to the reverse supply chain. So primary supply chain and the reverse supply chain performance should match. Then only this kind of loop is feasible. Otherwise, we would never be able to scale up the loop. And there comes the role of government, policy making, NBI, customer demanding, markets getting created for these kind of end of the life products. These things, this kind of push is there, then only something called as this will become a business problem. So having said that, we wanted to understand how these supply work could be at a production level, at a component level, or at a product disassembly. Now this could be a case in point for an electronic sector. Can I retrieve at a product level, or I have to go at a component level, or I have to intervene at a material level? Now economic recovery should be there. Economic value from this business proposition should be there. Then only something. Now, having said that, with this in mind, we try to model the waste value chain. Now, when the MSW waste gets generated and goes off into a facility, this is the thing which happens from transportation, upstream transportation, to the collection and sorting center, finally MRS, zero composting, or landfilling. Now, this is the business as usual scenario. Now comes a contrast where we try to model. That is, if at all, I can replace this business as usual scenario with something called as circularity interventions like recovery of energy, not going to landfill directly, but some amount of MRS getting in the MRS, some kind of value recovery happening, then energy recovery happening in the landfill, etc. And finally, some kind of compost from the composting. So this is about my organic, inorganic, miscellaneous kind of fractionations happening, and now how to make it feasible. And what are the impacts? So this was the objective. That environmental footprint analysis of MSW facility was done as per the Swachh Bharat Yojana. Green city concept is already there. We wanted to model it in business perspective. And finally, what are the important environmental KPIs which might come handy in decision making so that we can make it as a good business proposition. And for this, we map the current scenario and the proposed scenario at Kanju. Now, this is the type which we tried to map, and this is the model which we tried to build up. So, since it was an LCA kind of thing, these 4 steps were there. We tried to identify the goals, gate concept was used, and finally, we went on to the field for inventory creation. What kind of materials, what kind of inflows and outflows are there, for example, from all the units. Now, if this happens to be this facility, I will go to the facility and given all those things, like this is the MSW facility from where transportation happens. Now, what are the impacts, environmental impacts at the transporting or logistics stage? Then MRFP, what are the impacts on the environment? Then at composting level, while I say composting is a very good thing, not always. It's a good thing, it needs to be done. There are other kind of drivers also that need to be taken care parallelly. So composting plant, finally landfilling, some leachate collection happening, energy getting generated. Now we wanted to model and we wanted to understand the impact of each and every scenario, each and every sub-process, each and every sub-technology which you see over here. And for this was the goal. And once the byproducts are there, they're out of the scope and they're out of my assessment also. So this is where we tried to model and we collected the things. So inventories were created and environmental assessment was done. The entire system was modeled with respect to transportation phase, where inflows with respect to the materials going, how much tonnage was going into the system, and what all outflows were there, what all byproducts, co-products, main products were there. Entire mapping with respect to the tonnage was done. Greenhouse gases emanating from there and the waste at the processing site. Yeah. So similarly at the processing, what inflows and outflows at the composting, landfilling, electricity generation, and trading stage. So we wanted to understand the life cycle impact of an MSW waste when it goes into the facility and it comes out. So gate-to-gate environmental sustainability matrix was understood. And for this, the inputs chosen were like inflows in the MRF, into composting, electricity generation requirements, diesel use, energy use, water usage, then operational requirements, then inputs like at the logistics stage, type of vehicles, tonnage they are carrying, the payload, the fuel use, the type of the vehicle, because that decides the emission factors, etc. And the distance they are traveling, how much mileage it is taking for the compactor to take from the site of origin to the facility. So that also is having some kind of environmental implications. And finally, what volumes and the characterization of waste. So these were the waste characteristics, and this was the inventory data which was collected. Waste at the gate, then at the MRI facility. So this is the kind of data which we collected. It was a very exhaustive kind of study, which one of my projects undertook. I'm a research scholar. So this is how the inventory data came in. We got some data in hand for the landfilling. And now we wanted to understand where the landfilling impacts are there. When we say landfill also has an impact, I want to understand it, where the impacts are, so that I can arrest that kind of impact. And at the end of the day, flaring. Now we say flaring is a good exercise for sure. I cannot release methane, so I have to flare it. But then where are the impacts of flaring also so that I can curb that? So this is how I modeled it. My one student modeled it, and this is where the results came in. So when we talk about some of the categories, it was very evident that transportation and biomining stages was something. When I talk about recovery of metals at the biomining stage, we see some kind of environmental impacts coming in, like eutrophication impact, acidification impact. So I can come out that biomining is a process where I have to come up and intervene and decide on some technical interventions, how to lower those impacts. Similarly, ozone layer depletion, human toxin, ozone creation, terrestrial toxicity impact were taken care of. Now, we also wanted to model the business as usual scenario with the scenario we are proposing. Given that there is a capacity constraint, okay, given that there is a capacity constraint, we can't touch on all these kind of integrated technologies. But then, how the results look like? Should I be able to turn into a circular model? Then this is how the things would happen. Landfilling compared to landfilling with energy recovery, the impact on the global warming will go down drastically, and this is what which is required. Similarly, on acidification potential and all the three were mapped, and we can understand at which stage and how landfilling or circularity can intervene and lower down the impacts of landfill. So with this in mind, we understand where the performance is going up. Unless and until we get a win-win situation at both economic and environmental side, none of the circularity or closing the loop circular economy model will work. So we have to look at both from the technical and the management business side. So these were the results of the navigation. So these are the last things. So at transportation stage and landfilling habitat, most critical points, we have to intervene here. Now we know in the supply chain where to intervene. And finally, at the transportation stage, for example, sourcing, identifying the correct vendor, who can give us the materials of our choice, who can do segregation or not. These are the management related decisions that need to be taken. This is a supply chain issue, it's not a technical issue at all. So more supply dependencies are there in the transportation model. So we have to build on that. So this is where come up. These two stages have to be there so that the impact gets constrained, limited. Last, the timing of return of material for reusing recovery not there. So figure out those kind of supply chain issues. Recoverable value. Your kabadi wala coming and taking paper from you, he has recovery value. But in this case, we are not getting the value. So there is no business proposition coming in. Financial models not there. Legislation policy support EPR there, but implementation with respect to correct elements have to happen. These are the constraints which will be taken, should be taken care for us to make circularity a reality right now. So that's all, audience. Thank you so much for giving this opportunity. Thanks, Chair and Coach. And cross the line. Thank you so much. Yes, Job. Yes, sir, please come.
Yeah.
Yes.
You are also to your
Yes. Ash.
Okay, it's biogas.
Methane is there, right?
And one thing we happens when you can go up to the
Right. Right.
you will get that After that,
You're very right. Not use it for that. That's what.
That's all the story you need. Yes.
Okay, well then. Anything I did. So I'll take note of that. Anything I did. Not anything.
Even also
Once we complete.
Yes. We give the report of
Right.
Right. Which is just
Yes.
Yeah. Very much. That's the most important.
Yes.
But which one you cannot make.
But we are making.
That once.
Yes, after segregation only.
Then what?
What are we going to? Dry waste, we are making RDFs. Compost is one thing, shredding it.
Yes.
We are shredding it. The plastic components which are there, that again we are segregating. Now this is a on-site study of Kanjuman. This is the things which are actually happening. So, with respect to the site technology change.
I think it was not a very good discussion, but we can hold on for lunch.
Okay.
And I'm sure that is here.
I'm there and I will require.
Yeah. Definitely, a lot of discussion can happen over lunch.
Yes.
In fact, all of these presentations in itself should be a workshop. But then we only have this.
Yes,
great job. The next presentation is on the topic Zero Waste Approach for Sustainable Food Waste Management, a case study at IPLA University, Cafeteria, Mumbai. Dr. Shilpi and myself being co-author. Dr. Shilpi, you have 10 minutes exactly for the presentation.
Yes, ma'am. A very good morning to one and all present here for the 13th International Conference on Sustainable Waste Management and Circular Economy and IPLA Global Forum 2023. And it's a pleasure to be at KJSIM Institute of Management, Mumbai, and hereby presenting on the title Zero Waste Approach for Sustainable Food Management, a case study which is conducted at cafeteria of Atlas Skilltech University. It's a privilege to be associated with Dr. Aditi Mishal, ma'am, who is the Director for Center of Sustainability and Professor here, and along with me will be presenting our paper on the said title. The basic objectives of this particular paper has been to understand the different reasons which are associated with food wastage at our cafeteria at Atlas Skilltech University. We had tried to analyze the impact of food waste on the ecosystem, and we had tried to examine the different efforts or the remedial measures which can be taken by the cafeteria, how to reduce food waste. So this had been the basic implications of the study, that we can try to, at least not if coming to the zero waste, we can minimize the food waste management practices at our cafeteria. When it comes to rationale of a study, it gives us a comprehensive understanding that why the food is being wasted and what are the possible food waste management practices that we can be implemented not in our cafeterias, but to implement to all the academic institutions, which is basically student driven, and whereby the quantity of food wastage, had it been any kind of dry waste or a liquid waste, could be minimized so that we can work to have a very healthy ecosystem. To look at the statistics for the annual global food waste, we come to know that 1/3 of the world food is wasted each year, which is equivalent to 1.3 billion tons. Out of these, 20% are meat and dairy products, 20% is oil seeds, 30% of cereals are wasted, 30% is of fish, and 40 to 50% is root crops, fruits, and vegetables. The leading consequence of food wastage in the country is its direct contribution to malnutrition and starvation. So this is one of the biggest addresses and the biggest challenge, because the moment we are wasting food and it is leading to the starvation in the country. And according to a recent report which is being released by Feeding India, around 194.4 million people, or we can say approximately 14.3% of the population, even are not receiving adequate malnutrition. And that is why we are at the 107th position out of 121 countries when it comes to Global Hunger Index 2022. So it is a very challenging concern which needs to be addressed, that how we can procure and what challenges we can take to minimize this Global Hunger Index 2022. Statement of the problem, as I have already said, that even according to United Nations Environmental Program Food Wastage Index report, 68.7 million tons of food is wasted annually, and not anywhere but only even in Indian homes. Talking in very simple words, it's about 50 kgs per person. And to see here, 50 kgs per person is a very considerable figure which needs to be addressed. And that's the reason India stands second while in terms of household wastage of food, only followed by China. And the repercussions because of the food wastage is related to the global greenhouse gas emissions. And these all repercussions are linked with food that is actually not consumed by the consumers. And this is the reason even we can connect it that we are ranking so high on the hunger food index, which I've discussed, global hunger index, and we have to literally work on these particular parameters to come down on these indexes. And when universities, which are operating as living labs, whereby we have direct interaction with the students at every particular academic institution, so the real challenges which is being even posed by Philo and et al. Studies, whereby there is an urgent food waste management, which is actually compelling to be action oriented. The scope of the study is basically to find out the root causes why the food is being wasted at different reasons associated with cafeteria of Atlas University. This will also help to understand that in what possible ways we can reduce the adverse impact on our ecosystem there. And possibly it will also give us a direction to implement those changes at cafeteria level, which will be helpful to set a benchmark for the reduction of food wastage. The statistics, as I've already thrown some light, that if we talk of usual Indian households whereby it's 50 kgs per person wastage, and this is the latest statistical data whereby Indian statistical report has highlighted this considerable figure. And to be noted as 1/3 of all the food which is produced in India, it gets wasted or spoiled even before it is eaten. That means so many percentage of food is not even being eaten, and even before eaten, it is being wasted. Literature review to support the studies which we have conducted. We had certain UN Sustainable Development Goals. We had also have the data from Food Wastage India Statistics 2023, supported by the studies at various universities of Liel Fellow et al. And Zheng et al. 2021, whereby different factors came into the picture, which were having the various basic reasons for the food wastage, including some personal attributes, whereby it was observed in their studies that many of the people took it as a very casual approach not to save food, had it been any kind of age and gender. Plus, consumer behavior patterns were also observed in this particular study, whereby we come to even understand that the food has been wasted because of no taste in that, excessive purchasing, that means even proper planning is being not done, that how much food to be purchased, personal preferences rather than staple food, undesired accompaniment, selection of disposable tableware, cheap food, and large size portions which have been served. The research methodology which has been adopted to conduct this study is basically in-depth observation, and we had personal interaction with the cafeteria kitchen vendors, all the management and the stakeholders related to the food waste management practices, housekeeping staff, and even the customers and the students who have been reaching that cafe at Atlas Skilltech University. The possible results which help us to understand the food waste management practices at this particular cafeteria in Atlas University is actually creating a positive public image when students specifically who have been the basic customers of that, what have been the reasons associated with food waste, and how through minimizing that food wastage we can enhance our environmental stewardship. The basic methodologies and the basic dimensions whereby we come to incorporate in our study is we try to figure out the dimensions of food waste problem. Hereby, in our study, we try to find out the causes that had it been lack of adequate planning, or had it been excessive food cooking, or there had been a limitations in food preservation for reuse, or there had been oversight of food safety policies at our cafeteria, which had lead to food wastage. Then what have been the drivers to at our cafeteria which have been enhancing the food wastage issues? It could be larger menu options, lack of specific wastage prevention regulations, limited awareness on waste prevention, poor waste management systems, and we have limited opportunities for recycling of the food wastage. Along with that, we even try to incorporate the impact of these food wastage on our excess production and pollution, greenhouse effect, and climatic effect. And most importantly, we try to observe the social habits of the people who purchase food, that what have been their social tendencies towards wastage of food. When it comes to data analysis through our research methodology and the interactions which we had, uh, when it comes to the food wastage separation, we inquired yes. We had a separation of liquid waste and dry waste at our cafeteria. A few reasons which we could identify at our cafeteria through the interactions with all these respected stakeholders, which I mentioned, was excessive food cooking. And this happened because of lack of food planning, because it was observed that many of the students, they didn't plan while ordering, and even the other customers who have been coming, so maybe they have been ordering much more than required, and even the kitchen vendors could not figure out the exact number of the for the people whom they have been cooking. Second observation was there had been limitations in the food storage. There had been very poor waste management system. The food was not according to the taste for the majority of the servers, the customers. For some, it had been very spicy food. For some, it had not been spicy food. Along with that, the customers had been very limited awareness of food management practices, because they had actually not realized the repercussions, consequences, and limited opportunities for recycling. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, last, you need to wrap up now, last.
Okay, so finally, when it comes to impact on the food ecosystem, of course, it is giving rise to greenhouse emissions, and the remedial measures to wind up which our cafeteria is probable to take is we have incorporated preparing food in small batches, reduction in size of plates and balls, changes in menu, offer food in small portions, and offer sample bites to understand, and usage of leftovers. And along with that, our cafeteria is also in connection with Oberoi International School, whereby whatever cooked meals is being there, like leftover cooked rice and other dals and other curries, had been sent to Oberoi International School, where thereby they having fertilizers there. They are recycling that particular waste and using as a fertilizer. Apart from that, our at last Skilltech University is in association with these national, these organizations, Maratha Life Foundation, Community Development Center, and Girija Foundation, whereby we have an associations and tie-ups, and we are trying to figure out more such associations whereby left out foods can be sent, so that we can try to minimize the food wastage management. And this is our ultimate aim, to stop food loss and waste for the people, for the planet. That's all from my end. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shilpi. And we will be having a Q&A at the end of the session for all of the visitors. So you can be online.
Thank you. Thanks.
Requesting Dr. Rakti to take this.
Now, what is carbon footprint? The commonly accepted definition of carbon footprint is the entire quantity of carbon emissions created by an activity both directly and indirectly or accumulated by a product over the lifetime. But my topic is calculate the carbon footprint in manufacturing industry in India. So 54% of the world energy consumption is accounted for by the manufacturing and industry sector. Now, the manufacturing industry is responsible for about 29% of the total direct carbon dioxide emission from the industrial sector. These are the pictures, the greenhouse gases. There are several processes in the manufacturing, and in the raw material there are 24% consumption of carbon dioxide emissions are there, and in the intermediate method 1, 3, and 5%. At the consumer end, customer, that is 66% carbon emissions are there. And the carbon footprint, we know they are an individual, product, and corporate. So these are the shares of different industries like metal industry, automotive industry, chemical industry, industrial equipment, electrical industry, pulp and paper industry, and total. Where different in the different intermediate process, the amount of carbon emission percentages are there for different kind of manufacturing industry. After different literature review, the following different gaps have been identified. That is technology adoption and implementation, integration of renewable energy sources, and life cycle analysis of products. Then supply chain emissions. Significant portion of the emission may be attributed to supplier recyclability assets and address the carbon footprint of supply chain also. Policy regulation impact, circular economy practices, behavioral change, and employee engagement. Now these are our research objectives: quantification and modeling, understanding the source and seeds, climate modeling, emission reduction strategies, economic and social impact, and international corporate and agreements. Now we know we have three different types of scopes in carbon emission according to the global reporting index. One is scope 1, that is direct emission from owned and controlled source. Another one is scope 2, indirect emission, and last one is scope 3, indirect emission from source not owned by and controlled by the organization. First two are little bit easier to calculate, but last one is the scope 3, which is difficult to calculate. Okay, so now the sustainable development through this carbon footprint. So carbon footprint has two surface scopes. Scope 1, that is environmental input-output analysis and emission factor analysis, that is direct emission controlled and core manufacturing process. Now the scope 2. Scope 2 is regular data. Scope 2 can be controlled by regular data monitoring, that is indirect emission from purchased electricity, heat or steam. Another one is scope 3. Under scope 3, this is life cycle assessment process-based model, that indirect emission from source not owned by controlled by the organization, and both all the scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3 emissions can be, by controlling these emissions, we can achieve SDG 7, SDG 9, SDG 11, SDG 12, and SDG 13. These are all the sustainable development goals. Now, by optimization model 1, that is, let us assume the C1 is the unit cost of scrap material, C2 unit cost of virgin raw material, U1, P2, P1 dash, lots of parameters are there. Now this is the my optimization model, that is minimization model, that means it, and these are the constant, and last one is strictly non-negativity constant. And next one is the optimization model for 2, that is carbon footprint model, where lots of inputs are there, X1, P1, C1, P1, Q, Y, Q, PC, etc. And these are our model, where we can maximize the output, and these are our constant, and last one is strictly non-negativity constant. Now we can validate the model through case example. We have two different type of case example. We have visited three different kind of industry. One is ductile iron pipe manufacturing industry, another one is cylinder manufacturing industry, and last one is aircraft component manufacturing industry. These are the process maps. One is for ductile iron pipe, another one is for cylinder manufacturing, and last one for aircraft manufacturing. And the research frame is considering the business excellence model management practices as well as the circular SIPOC interface. SIPOC means supplier input process output customer. This interface, some constructs have been identified. Our main objective is to measure the functional efficiency of three aforementioned industries with respect to identified constructs to achieve minimal emission goal. These are our constructs considering supply input interface, input process, process output, output customer, and the circularity, customer output, output process input, and input supplier. These are our emission control factors, and these 30 constructs we have to develop considering this type of interface. Now, analysis, we know the beauty of Six Sigma calculation is we can measure and we can compare different kinds of industry using Six Sigma measure. So, the ductile iron pipe industry we have visited, and we checked 97 units from 3 months, cylinder industry 95 units, and air force 96 units. And the sigma value of the DI pipe is 2.24, cylinder is 1.6, and aircraft is 1.96. Now some action plan have been taken. One is emission control action plan. That is, it is recommended for all three industries to map all environmental pollutants with corresponding process to environmental value stream mapping. This is very important. Environmental value stream mapping. Integrate pollutant metering and control system with environmental protection system has been recommended by taking up suitable projects. Next one is ISO 19011. There is ISO 19011 auditing standard that is can be implemented. User manuals, environmental protection and measuring equipment snapshots on visual boards need to be introduced to draw the attention of the concerned employees and customers for green production. Next one is waste management, emission reduction. These are the following remedies that capture the internal failure value COPQ cost of poor quality. Needs to be more initiatives for the scrap intensive EAF, electric arc furnace, which can be used to reduce the carbon emission. Now, next one is, and this electric arc furnace is most of the cases is economically viable, economically and technologically sustainable. There are very few government authorized scrap dealers there. That's why it is recommended to integrate the supply chain of all the industries with authorized scrap dealer process to which the concerned industry can use own scrap as a secondary raw material in electric arc furnace. Next one is waste to energy remedy. So there are no government authorized scrap dealers, so we have suggested that to integrate the process map with the government authorized scrap dealer. Now this is our recommended process map by which it has been seen that by using natural method, the total amount of CO2 per ton is 1149.7 kg. But when we can use electric arc furnace, then 45 kg CO2 per ton. But for this type of production, we have to calculate also the virgin raw material. That's why my model is there. These are the extent of ongoing improvement after taking the remedial measure. The sigma value improved from 2.24 to 4.22. 1.60 to 3.58 and 1.96 to 4.07 in these three industries. Now, model adequacy checking. We have developed the optimization model, and these are the outputs after taking the data of 6 months in this industry. These are the jobs to P1, P2, P1, P2, and means it. So, in the tractor manufacturing company, the production cost is minimum in this picture. Now, the month-wise optimization production cost. This also we have seen that Dr. Iron June, July, August, September, and October, all three, the Dr. Iron manufacturing company, the total amount of production cost will be minimum. From the sigmatic and comparative production cost analysis to minimum emission, it has been seen that DI pipe manufacturing company is more efficient compared to other industries with respect to minimal emission and production cost. Now the future work, sensitivity analysis of the model, validation of mathematical models to other industries, identify other constructs from differential review, and model lack of fit check. These are the conclusion. The journey and the result presented in this paper have been potential to make up people figure out as how to transform emission control factors into a tangible from the health companies find the niche factor for achieving sustainable development. And the study will also assist in raising awareness, assessing, rating, counseling, and hand-holding, reassessing and certifying various industries so that they can climb the emission control ladder, increasing their competitiveness in global marketplace according to the global reporting index.
We have the next presentation, A74. That will be online. Rashmi Churasa. And just announcing the topic by them. How green entrepreneurship evolved over the past 2 decades. A glance through bibliometric analysis. Please note, Rashmi, that you will be having 10 minutes for presentation.
So, hello to all. My name is Rashmi Srivastava. I am a research scholar in the School of Business Studies, Central University of Jammu. And under the able guardianship of Dr. Nilika Arora, who is an associate professor in the same School of Business Studies at Central University of Jammu, and also under the able supervision of Dr. Neeraj Dhiman, who is an assistant professor at National Institute of Technology, NIT Hamirpur. I am here to present on behalf of all my co-authors on the topic how green entrepreneurship evolved over the past 2 decades, a glance through bibliometric analysis. Now, moving ahead, I would like to throw light on the Sustainable Development Goals, as we all know about it, which was proposed by the United Nations in the year 2015, And these are the set of 17 goals which are meant for the sustainable development set by the United Nations in order to meet the future objectives of conservation of resources and protection of the planet. This achievement of sustainable development goals are nowadays threatened by the triple planetary crisis of climate change, pollution, and associated environmental deterioration. According to Verma and Kumar in 2021, green entrepreneurship can help to reduce environmental pollution and improve the environmental quality through green business practices, thus promoting the environmental health. According to Farinelli et al. In 2011, the green entrepreneurship has been defined as the undertaking of new business opportunities that has an overall positive impact on the natural environment and on economic sustainability. In the present study, what we have done is we have conducted a bibliometric analysis of the study surrounding the green entrepreneurship to unwrap the emerging trend and intellectual structure of this area. So the primary research question for the study are the bibliometric features of the studies on green entrepreneurship and its synonymous related fields, and how we can explicitly define green entrepreneurship. So coming to the methodology part, we have selected the database as a scopus, the keywords based upon the existing literature and our literature review. We have identified the certain synonymous terms which are there with respect to green entrepreneurship, and that has been selected as the keywords, which is green entrepreneurship, environmental entrepreneurship, sustainable entrepreneurship, eco entrepreneurship, and ecologically sustainable entrepreneurship. The subject areas we have selected keeping in mind the areas which can possibly be associated, all the areas that can possibly be associated with the green entrepreneurship. The document type we have kept as article, publication stage as final, source type as journal, and language is English, which has resulted in 2,861 documents that we have analyzed with the help of R software and WASFever. Coming to the publication trend, if we see, the publication surrounding the green entrepreneurship has evolved with time. Starting from 2003 and onwards, we can see a rise in the publication trend after 2010 onwards, right? And the sharp rise from 2017 onwards. And since the study, the database has been taken up to the mid of 2022, so the studies were still, going on during that time. So the fall can be, understood in that manner. If you see the country-wise scientific production, you can see US, UK, China, Spain, Germany, Canada, Netherlands, Italy, France, and Austria. These are the countries which stands at the top with respect to the scientific production on green entrepreneurship. Also, it can be understood from here that all these countries are the developed countries, and India is not mentioned, in these top 10 list. Most relevant sources if we look into, so these are the sustainability, Journal of Cleaner Production, Business Strategy and the Environment. So these are the top 3 journals, and the remaining falls under the top 10 category. Important to note here is that the sustainability, which stands at the top in the most relevant sources, is still not listed under any category of whether it is ABDC or ABS. So it is not listed under any of them, right? If you look into the most relevant authors, so they are like Cross S, Krish J, and Fischer K, Wagner M, and so on under the top 10 categories. And the top 10 documents, if we look based upon the citations, so the highest number of citations has been received by Skilltech as on the document which was produced in 2011 on sustainable entrepreneurship and sustainability innovation categories and interactions, published in Business Strategy and the Environment. The remaining is produced by Dean T.J. Cohen-B. So the primary analysis that comes out from this is that the top documents, if we look into, so they are mostly producing in the area of sustainable entrepreneurship, right? And if we look into the synonymous term of green entrepreneurship and sustainable entrepreneurship, based upon the review of literature, what we have found is the green entrepreneurship primarily focuses upon the environmental aspect of the entrepreneurship, right? And whereas on the other hand, the sustainable entrepreneurship, if we look into, so that focuses upon the three pillars of sustainability, encompassing all the three economic, social, and environmental aspects, right? So that is the primary, difference between the both terms. Although that both the terms have been recognized in the literature as synonymous to each other. Looking into the co-occurrence of keywords, we see the keywords that are occurring for the most number of times in the literature is the sustainable entrepreneurship, social entrepreneurship, institutional entrepreneurship, again green entrepreneurship, and environmental entrepreneurship. The co-authorship of countries, if we look into, so this will basically shows the collaboration among the countries. So UK and US can be seen as the top collaborators among each other. And if we look into the thematic map from 2003 to 2014, the emerging areas at that time were the emission control and engineering and planning research, right? And further, if we look into the thematic map from 2015 to 19, we see the emerging trends again comes as sustainable entrepreneurship and social entrepreneurship. Coming to the 2020 to 2022, the last time during which we have limited our database too. So here we can see that during this time, that is from arising from 2015 and onwards till 2022, the emerging trend of sustainable entrepreneurship is coming after this time period, during this time frame. Now, based upon this keyword analysis and thematic analysis that we have done, we've proposed this new definition of green entrepreneurship. And according to our definition of green entrepreneurship, and looking into the synonymous term, we have defined green entrepreneurship as a profitable entrepreneurial activity which is concerned with capturing, innovating, and implementing environment-friendly business opportunity for achieving sustainable development. Right. So this particular definition, according to us, encompasses all the terms that are synonymous to each other. The theoretical implications, if we look into this, performance analysis of the green entrepreneurship literature from 2003 to 2022 that we have done. This will aid the researchers in monitoring the productivity and also raising the quality of research to a level that can satisfy the benchmarked standard journals that we have seen that are not mentioned. In the literature is not most of the literatures are not mentioned in the benchmark standard journals on green entrepreneurship, and this particular paper offers some new areas that can strengthen future research on green entrepreneurship, such as social entrepreneurship and sustainable entrepreneurship. If you look into the practical side of our study, so researchers should endeavor to collaborate with organizations on developing areas that need solution. Our study highlights thematic areas of specialization and resources that managers and policymakers may utilize to boost an organization's capacity for effective decision making. Also, it is very important to note here that the emerging concept of circular economy, right, which has gained traction since I think 2010 onwards or 15 onwards, which has gained sharp traction among the academia. So this emerging circular entrepreneurship concept can be associated with green entrepreneurship to conduct an in-depth analysis. And in order to understand and use performance analysis and scientific mapping analysis in any area of research, the study will definitely serve as a guide for the researcher. If we look into the limitation part of our study, so we believe that the more synonymous terms can be identified with respect to the green entrepreneurship, and software such as bibliometrics and Vivek, etc., can be used in order to gain a more in-depth understanding of the term. And journal quality can be searched upon that what are the articles or studies that are present in the quality journal list, and based upon those list, the analysis further can be done, the bibliometric analysis definitely. And looking into the inclusion exclusion criteria, so that we have limited to the English language. So definitely the language is an limitation in our work. Also, we have excluded the conference papers. So these are the limitations of our study. Thank you so much.
Mumbai is in coastal area and with a tropical climate. That's again a unique combination that Mumbai brings in. There is an overpowering anthropogenic activity, and I'm sure we all who move around in Mumbai will agree with this. The kind of vehicles move through the day. And of course, the pressure on overall resilience of this whole land system or land ecosystem of Mumbai. So talking about the materials and methods which have gone into it, the keyword searches that were used were air quality, climate change in Mumbai. The result came out 85,200 articles, but we followed an exclusion method looking at the publications coming after 2000, but still it was a lot of irrelevant articles which were coming out with this exclusion strategy. Further, we went to narrow down the search with 2010 onwards articles and included the cross-referencing, which ended up into 212 articles which were very, very relevant, out of which a detailed thematic analysis was done for 88 articles. So I used a mixed strategy when it comes to literature review. There was the thematic analysis which was done, but at the same time, we also looked at the co-citation framework to understand how this particular proposal or how the hypothesis was looked at, who were the supporters and who were contrasting the whole thing. So site analysis allows you to look at 25 million plus research articles real time. And with this AI tool, you can arrive at a very accurate co-citation network analysis. So should we go further? So as you can see here, this is the co-citation network analysis for Menon et al. 2002. The green ones are the supporters and the blue ones are contrasting thoughts mentioned for this particular article. And what he's claiming is the black carbon suit is shaping these regional climate variations. So we have to understand air pollution is rising, is impacting climate change. And the change in the climate change is again impacting the pollution. Because the dispersion which happens, the ecosystem has its own boundary in terms of how much it can disperse and how much it can handle. Should we go further? The next was on the theme urbanization, air pollution, and climate change. Here we looked at the article by Prasad et al. But at the same time, you can see a lot of them are talking about this. The urbanization impacting air pollution and climate change. The next theme that we looked at was what are the health impacts of air pollution and climate change. And there has been discussion about the respiratory tract infections rising, asthmatic conditions rising. There have been cases reported up to death due to severity in terms of the air pollution and climate change. The seasonal variations is another thematic factor that we have to take into consideration. During winter, as you can see, the smog specter is on rise. And the reason is due to colder temperatures, the dispersion rate comes down. Yeah. So the seasonal variations are also being taken into consideration when it comes to climate change and air pollution. The effect of climate change on air pollution has also been discussed at length with a lot of, by a lot of researchers. Should we go further? And of course, finally, the anthropogenic activity, particularly vehicular emissions. In fact, all the places where Mumbai has highest AQI, like Bhadrapur complex and Kolaba, you will find typically the vehicle pollution is one of the main contributors along with the construction sites. Should we go further? So, of course, there are a lot of implications on the climate change policy because of the studies being carried out, and the health economic impact has been discussed at length. If we look at the health economic impact, whatever effort we can do towards climate change reduction would be viable or feasible. Whatever level we can go to arrest climate change through working on air pollution is worth. Should we go further?
So the research methods that have been used typically are general circulation model being used, the time series special analysis being used, the integrated assessment models, the dynamic downscaling, and the hybrid methods like ARIMA and ANF. So when we looked at all of these studies being carried out, mainly the satellite data was being used. But the problem with the satellite data is you don't get the analysis at different altitudes, how the dispersion is happening. And that's exactly the gap that we wanted to address with the study that we did. So we took help of, the ground sensors at the same time combined with the drone sensors so that we get data at all levels, the ground level at the same time at different altitudes. So these are the, can we go a little further? So these are the technical details of the kind of sensor being used. MQ135 sensor was used along with the Ordino Euro as a ground sensor. And multiple readings were taken at multiple places at different times zones. So Mumbai, from the point of view of where the heart of the city, the most polluted places, at the same time, peri-urban areas are also. So the time, space, at different locations. So all of these factors were taken into consideration for the methodology. The air quality was also measured using drones. So Pluto X drone from Drona Aviation was used along with the MQ 135. So these are the drone-based sensors are still evolving, but at the same time, none of the other facilities are available by which we can get data at each altitude that we want to. So the ground-based sensors, these are the results that we can find Andheri East, Worli Seaface, BKC, the CST area, June Beach, Dharavi, Powai, Marine Drive, Sion, and Kulava. So these are the different timings at which these studies were carried out. And as we can see, typically the evening timings, everywhere the pollution levels are very high. So definitely the vehicle pollution plays a very critical role in this particular factor. Now the drone-based sensors, again, the same places have been maintained, but we have taken into consideration the altitude-wise variations. Now, this is very important to understand. If you have seen Gopal related web series, you must have seen that within 24 hours, the challenge was overcome because the disruption happened. Yeah? Within 24 hours, the poisonous gases got dispersed. So the dispersion level, however, in relation to the air pollution is not happening that fast. That is what we understand because of the wind, because Mumbai is in coastal area, and the second problem is because of the typical amount of pollution which keeps coming up. Yeah? So just these are few insights that we have. We come to know what are the hotspots. This will give guidance for the vehicle policy. It will give guidance for the health, public health policy, and particularly as I mentioned, the hybrid method for giving the altitude-related dimension of the air pollution and climate change. So that's another important factor which has not been addressed much in previous presentation. Thank you so much.
Last presentation of the session, which is by Kapoor, paper by Kapoor, Karishma Desai, and Shilpi. Online.
Good morning, ma'am. This is Dr. Kajal. Me and Karishma madam would be presenting.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Karishma Desai, and my colleague Dr. Kajal will be presenting our research paper. Research paper is on the topic of unraveling the impact of greenwashing in the fast fashion industry. We proceed to explain the abstract to you. So, the fast fashion industry The fast fashion industry is witnessing a meteoric rise, and you see that a lot of there's an increased consumer trend with which where the consumers are often affordable clothing, or they provided it at very inexpensive prices. There's this unprecedented pace at which the fast fashion industry is growing and flourishing. What typically happens is it's changing and metamorphizing the fast fashion landscape. And what we are intrigued in our research paper is how greenwashing has a negative implication in the fast fashion industry. This is an empirical study which examines the critical ramifications of greenwashing within the fast fashion sector. This study also examines the psychological and social implications of greenwashing on consumer behavior. We are here emphasizing on the need for creating more sustainable and resilient efforts and creating more transparent policies so that the implications of greenwashing could be mitigated. The study highlights the problems and challenges faced by conscientious consumers in navigating a market flooded with misled information. It aims to provoke the industry towards reconsideration of business practices, which may foster the company's credibility and sustainable, healthy environment. Keywords for our research are greenwashing, fast fashion, sustainability, deceptive marketing, and environmental impact. We're trying to explain in this study the first, what is greenwashing, what is fast fashion industry. It also, we are trying to understand the implications of greenwashing in the fast fashion industry and how does it have an implication on circular economy. The fast fashion industry has irrevocable transformation of consumer trends, offering a relentless stream of affordable, on-trend clothing at unprecedented pace. Companies meet demands for new styles, quick turnovers, and inexpensive garments. Greenwashing is employed as a technique to create an illusion of environment responsibility and social consciousness. So, this is a strategy that is deployed by many fast fashion brands like Zara and H&M, to name a few, where they create this kind of deceptive marketing technique in which they create these strategies so that they could greenwash the minds of the consumers. And the main focal point is in our paper, is to understand what is the psychological and social implication of this greenwashing. The research also studies the need for authentic and sustainable practices by industry stalwarts in the arena of fast fashion. We wish to address the challenges faced by conscientious consumers navigating a market flooded with a lot of misleading information. The research question for our paper is: fast fashion brands are now unable to uphold their integrity towards environmental stewardship as they are focusing on primarily creating inexpensive garments. So their primary focus is on creation of inexpensive garments. New styles like Zara created a lot of micro fashion styles, almost 52 micro fashion styles in a year. Because of this, a lot of which is creating this manipulative strategy that is which is projecting their products to showcase them to be environmentally safe, and this is a deceptive marketing strategy. Over and above, it creates this false urgency in the mind of the consumer because of these micro fashion trends, of the false urgency to purchase the product because the trend keeps changing. Also, the strategy is to create inexpensive brands to make it more affordable and make it more aligned to the demand and supply. The research questions are to analyze the impact of greenwashing in the fast fashion industry, to advocate sustainable and ethical considerations to mitigate detrimental effects of greenwashing on brand equity of fast fashion brands, to analyze the impact of deceptive marketing and misleading information, which negatively impacts consumers' brand loyalty. The hypothesis for our study is there is a significant impact of greenwashing in the fast fashion industry, influencing the brand loyalty of consumers. We have two important literature reviews, one by Alexa Alpetri and 2020 et al. In their study, where they aim to dig deeper to understand the dynamics of green marketing and greenwashing with fast fashion. The research meticulously examines the evolution and transformation of these strategies, shedding light on how fast fashion enterprises strategically leverage to gain competitive advantage. This research underscores the need for collective effort from both companies and customers to achieve true sustainability in a circular economy, urging industry leaders to go beyond the rhetoric and uphold the genuine commitment towards environmental stewardship. The second literature review, which is of paramount importance, is of by Lu Shengzhou 2022, where their researchers delve deeper into critical issues of greenwashing in the fast fashion industry. They try to unravel the relationship between what the consumer's perceptions are towards greenwashing, and it also has the implications on consumers' purchase intentions. This research adopts a comprehensive approach in scrutinizing and mediating the influence of perceived risk and moderating impact of consumers' impulse buying decisions. The study underscores the pivotal role of information symmetry in green marketing. It also emphasizes the need for companies to embark on substantial sustainable initiatives to mitigate the perceived risk. The research methodology is that we have used the data from McKinsey Statista, Deloitte descriptive analysis while supporting the literature review contextually with the aim of understanding the implications of cultural dissonance for international students. We move on to understanding the strengths, weakness, and opportunity and challenges. Dr. Kajal will be explaining this slide in more detail. Dr. Kajal, please proceed.
Thank you, Dr. Karishma. Based on our studies and the extensive literature review what we had done, we have prepared a SWOT analysis of the fast fashion industries where we have identified that the fast fashion industry has major strengths in the form of because they're providing affordable products, and the product life cycle is also very shorter, as Karishma madam also told about the micro fashion and a lot of other things where the product life cycle is comparatively shorter. And the other important thing what can be seen as a strength for the fast fashion industry is the availability of the omni-channel marketing for these kind of products. However, when it comes to fast fashion industries, it is seen that there's a lot of use of toxic chemicals and the non-renewable resources, non-sustainable materials. Besides this, they also provide low wages and unfavorable working conditions to their workers, which is a major weakness of the fast fashion industry, as they are relying more upon or focusing more upon providing affordable and very quick clothing, or you can say the fashion piasta to the consumers. However, when it comes to the opportunities, in order to, as we told that we are trying to align it with how the products can become more sustainable, or how they can be aligned with the circular economy, these companies can enhance their sustainability by using automation or data analytics. Another important tool or opportunity to these companies is the use of metaverse and the non-fungible tokens. Besides this, it is very important to now expand into the emerging markets and have a lot of strategic collaborations with the partnership. However, having said more than done is quite challenging, because developing new eco-friendly products require a lot of testing, and not only testing but even a lot of cost and time, where time is a major constraint for the fast fashion industry. Besides this, consumer fashions are changing so fast that it is very unpredictable to predict what kind of trends will the customers really follow or they will like. And besides that, there are a lot of supply chain complexities and there's a lot of intense competition in the market. Based on our studies, generally the product undergoes through 6 stages. However, when it comes to right from introduction to the obsolescence, but however, when it comes to fast fashion industry, this product life cycle is very short. Please change the slide. It of course begins with introduction. However, when it comes to segmentation of the market, we'll see that the segmentation is not as regular as in the textile industry, because here, when it comes to gender-wise segmentation, we have androgynous and cisgender based. Similarly, style-wise, there are a lot of different segmentations what can be done, and hence it becomes really challenging for the fast fashion industry to deal with the changing trends. The fast fashion industry basically goes through 5 stages, which starts from fiber cultivation and ends with the disposal
Dr.
of the
Kajal, I hate to
product.
interrupt, but the time is over.
I would like to just conclude the topic that only said then done will not work, because we have seen that the green fashion industry, the green fashion industry, as we talk about fast fashion industry, green trends are coming up. But what is important is to regain the authenticity and trust, which can be done using a model where the companies and the stakeholders can go for 3 steps. One is advocating the need for change, where the cognitive, rather than and here the consumer's role is very important, because they should switch from just making a emotional purchase buying decision to rational buying decisions. And then the companies should use tools for change, where the redesigned garments or the recycled garments should be using circular economy. They should do more good to the human health and the environmental health. And finally, the execution of change, where the government should protect the small and medium enterprises who are working in greenwashing sin-free brands by clear, transparent, and reliable certification schemes. So that, because one of the other implication findings, I'll just take 1 minute. What we found out was that there are companies which are sin-free and they are into genuine marketing of green products, but because there's a lot of no implications.
Dr. Kajal, I'm sorry. I hate to interrupt, but the time is over.
Okay. So we end this by using this model. The companies can adopt the circular model economy, and they can the fast fashion industry can become more sustainable. Thank you, everybody, for patiently listening. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Dr. Karishma and Dr. Kajal.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, please ask questions, what you have for the previous presenters. We had the first presentation by Abhinav. Are there any questions for Abhinav from the audience? Okay, if not so, I have a very good question. How did you go about selecting articles for the literature review that you mentioned?
So, firstly, we have selected the sector. In those, we have selected, carried out the study on various. We have done a literature survey on various energy sector enterprises, like thermal power, and most fertilizer production is possible. And we have studied out that very less analytical studies have been carried out over fertilizer industry. So we have selected the fertilizer industry.
Oh, thank you so much. Good job. Yeah. I think Dr. Aditi, we had sufficient time in the Q&A there. Are there any specific questions from the audience for this particular presentation, where they mentioned about the gain towards the circular waste management? I think we are good. Thank you so much. We go to Dr. Hema.
She's level 6.
I think we had questions for her too. Should we go to Dr. Shilpi now? Are there any questions for the zero food waste practice at this particular university? Are there any questions from the audience for this? I think I had one question for you.
Yes, ma'am. Please come up with the question, ma'am.
Yes, Dr. Shilpi, just one, you'll have to wait for a minute. Your previous presenter, she's here. I'm just putting up a question for her. So, there is a lot of mafia thing in the municipal solid waste management. So, how have you integrated that aspect while you have modeled the whole thing?
Okay, right. Since we are from the academia, we understand what are the upstream issues which are not helping us, because they get it typically only and that job is done. We do not get any segregation and all, etc. So that is a business model for them. So not moving beyond that, but coming from the academia, we only wanted to model for the sustainability aspect. So we visited the site and got some approvals from NBCB and all. And that is the route which we took and ventured into the facility and did the study. Because it was not housed at a social wala.
But did you talk to any government authorities?
Yes. NCT percentage is correct. And why then only French?
But then musical corporation, because the whole thing comes under musical corporation.
Yes.
They are the decision. So did you get an opportunity to talk to?
Yes. For seeking an entry into the facility, they were the kind persons. The contractors were not aligned as only. So that is how we started, and then some kind of informal interviews will happen, which we did not entertain into the study because it was not on social wala side, it was all technical. But yes, we did encounter those kind of things, and the contractors then made way for us.
Thanks so much. Yeah. So any questions for Dr. Shilpi here? Okay. So there was one question. Should we? So there is one question for Mr. Gupta. Particularly, you talked about the model for scope 1. The major challenge about the scope 3. Scope 1.
Scope 3 is our future work. Yeah. We can use the honeybee algorithm. We have already been work on it, but just we have to finalize the yeah.
That will be the breakthrough which the industry will give.
Yeah, but this is limited to steel industry, not all the manufacturers. Yeah. The correct match. What is the efficiency and everything it is fine. That is most important, but you have done a good work in the pipeline. And not only that, iron ore registration. Iron ore mining and all. Because those mine areas is very health hazard. Because the particles is called blue particles, where the particle size is less than particle size. So this I am requesting you to conduct. Okay. But in the arc furnace also, you need to have a back filter system. Yeah. While charging and while discharging, this kind of effects has to be catched. And I will take your mail ID and I will write one mail to you for the industrial study, how to mitigate the emissions. Okay, sir. Okay, thank you very much. Yes.
Okay, so how do you engage with the suppliers? That is the data collection from the suppliers only, so suppliers segment.
I mean, we can get in the house. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So I think we are running out of time. A few points, but what I'll do is I'll please give your email ID, Rashmi, and I'll share a few questions which I had for you, which can help improve the results that you are sharing.
Sure, ma'am.
One for the green entrepreneurship, just was curious to know that was there specific sectors where you saw that the whole aspect of green entrepreneurship was looked at? And also in circular entrepreneurship, again, did you identify any specific sectors where there is more push coming about and more enterprises actually getting set up?
Ma'am, do I need to answer this question right now or through mail?
You can briefly answer.
Okay, so ma'am, with respect to circular entrepreneurship, any particular area, specifically we haven't, identified because we were stick to the green entrepreneurship part, and we did the analysis of that part and the synonymous terms that we identified through literature review. With respect to the circular economy aspect, we while going through the literature review, we identified, through some literatures that the merging of circular economy with the green entrepreneurship is coming up in the academia. So definitely, but the research are very scant. So definitely, this can be a new opportunity for the researchers to dive deep into.
It's 10%. I have a question regarding your presentation. Sure. And I come to ask, you say that Mumbai finds it difficult that the air quality disperses well. I mean, I'm a scientist here, I'm not even a graduate to begin with, but I do read a lot. So I find, I would like to know what are the challenges because the sea wave would help it disperse faster.
In fact, it has been observed that the sea wind helps, but it is not always so. In the sense, many of the times you will observe that at Mumbai, the wind speed is zero. So many of the places, and we have the data in regards to this.
Coastal areas, the wind speed is zero.
Zero. Oh, yeah. So it would be depending on the season. Yes, of course. And because of that, actually, there is a challenge when it comes to dispersion. Another challenge, what I understand is the amount of dispersion, which is like amount of input to the ecosystem. So planetary boundaries. We know about the planetary boundaries. The ecosystem in itself has a challenge in terms of how much it can take. And the kind of pollution which is happening every day at all of these times is again impacting the level of dispersion. So now this is the perspective that we are trying to look at is at the altitudes how the dispersion is and what's happening.
I would love to meet you, Dr. Saad, and understand you.
It would be much longer. It would be. So thank you so much for an being amazing audience. I think the audience makes the session interesting. And the presenters have done good job, but at the same time the audience has done a great job. Thank you so much. We'll have one last photo of all the presenters here, along with the presenters on them. Thank you so much.
Before the photograph and we end the session, with Madam Chair's permission, I would request Professor Saran K. Ghosh, President ISWMAW, to felicitate the Shraddha Jindal, who is the Joint Managing Director for Jindal Saw Group India, and Mr. Veerachari, President AP Projects, Jindal Urban Waste Management Limited, Kapoor, India.
Thank you very much.
Such a humbling. Thank you very much to invite me. And I must come to all this very often because I have got to learn. And the only way to learn is the more you learn, the more you listen and the more you partake. And question, you learn. And I hope they also will contribute very, very enthusiastically towards the development and growth of the environment, not only in terms of generating economy, generating environmental economies, which you asked me is the need of the hour.
That's so big.
Thank you. You know that she had very nice and very in-depth information with respect to the West Navigation. So, though her background initially was not enough, but we will be very happy and I'm proud, yes, that she is the Joint Managing Director for Jindal Saw Group, and she is also looking into we want to look into the waste to energy plan and running very successfully.
You're an inspiration for all of us, and I'm really nobody. And let me add here, I'm not even a much.
But you know, Rabindranath Tagore, everyone knows. Yeah. So his formal education, his formal education was class A.
Yes.
He got the Nobel Award. Right. So, and he is a legendary figure in not only India but throughout the world. If you look into his book, all full of very, rich poems. All sorts of literature which I don't know all the terminology. So in that way, the formal education is not the barrier for innovation, the research, and the activity. And she's a legendary and figure like that. She's doing a lot of work because last September, I had been in the plant, which is under our jurisdiction. And you are also welcome to visit that plant because in India, there are only a few number of plants which are running on waste to energy. The waste which you are discussing, they are taking all those and they are producing it. In the Vizag plant, they are taking 1,200 tons of waste every day, and they are making 15.4 megawatt hour of electricity. It's amazing. I visited nearly 25 waste to energy plants around the world. In Japan, China. This is one of the pathways of land which there are.
Yes, he has been such a support, and he has been trying to educate me, which is, I must say, very difficult and challenging role. But it's been a wonderful journey, and I feel with all my heart rate, this model of waste to energy, of course, I'm a business person, I need to generate profit, keep myself sustainable. However, this project, I assure you, is by no means my earning project. It is my way of returning back to the society from which I earn so much.
And you know that they have a number of in Guntur, in 2018, where we conducted our international conference, the state international conference. That time it was under thought process that there will be a waste to energy plant in Guntur. Guntur is in underway. And today, they are also making energy out of the waste. I'm scheduled anytime to visit their plant. But very importantly, next year, 14th International Conference on Waste Management and Circular Economy will be held in Visakhapatnam.
Wow.
And Gitam, being to the university, has taken the responsibility from us that we will allow that. We have already signed the mold. So all of you, if you are attending next year the conference, then on behalf of Madam and Virajati, we are openly welcoming you and inviting you to visit the plant. And just see what is happening. Your waste generated by you is converted into electricity. How it is possible, how it is making reality. You should look at it. Then you will realize that what is the cost of the waste which you are going with the town here. So now it is the time that the organizers have requested me to greet them for their very good and excellent work with some memento and with some other things. So I'm just doing my job now. ड्यूटी अभी बाकी है
I cannot.
And have the best shot of the best. And also typical example of diversity, quality, and social sustainability. All
And especially women.
That's like that. Actually, Shilpi.
India is shining, and so are women. Indian women.
Yes.
I would like.
Hey, you have to. It is not his. Thank you very much.
With permission of the other, I want to say,
Please.
she is very kind
and very encouraging and very interesting. Even at night, 1 o'clock also we can answer to start the lesson. Even 4 o'clock also we can start the lesson. And though she is telling that she is not educated, within seconds, though we have 32 years of experience, she catch our vision. So, words are well, rightly said. Passion has no knowledge. Yes. Thank you very much, madam, for your kind support.
That's anything but kind. I'm a hard taskmaster. So this is where I disagree entirely. And I feel women have to be harder. Nobody is willing to listen to us.
Because that's the final kindness that
Yes.
we get with the.
Yes. You have to be cruel to be kind sometimes, madam.
Yeah, Chopra, you can meet another person who is very effective in the dinner urban investment group. Yeah, he's the executive director. And I met for this
Business
first time. Yeah,
Business head,
so I'll be very happy to meet you in this conference, so please. And Virachari will be now giving us the training, what is happening and what should be done with your waste. So that's why the organizing committee also given me the responsibility of greeting him with a small memento.
I must say he is extremely well versed with how to navigate problems. And that, if you ask me, is his true strength. You know, being able to mechanically think something is another challenge altogether. But to be able to produce great solutions with least cost is where Charlie excels.
So for that, we are appreciating with you. We are appreciating with you this certificate. And also with this. And madam, you have also an appreciation.
Oh.
Why? Because you know that Jida, I know many people. And one of my friend is there who is working for last 12 years known to me. And that is Datta. Please come here. So rather, I request all the Jindal team to come here and we will have a group photo with the mentors.
And